Amun is on her assignment of writing an essay. Srimonto is with his guitar scoring music. Kanchanmala is painting. Pintu is taking photographs. And Obhik is designing graphics on a computer. They are all engaged in the act of composing in some form or other. In other words, they are arranging different elements of their work in a deliberate and usually attractive or artistic way. But as you may have noticed, they are dealing with different media. Amun is composing with the letters of the alphabet, and Srimonto with notes. All the others are busy with some pictorial form or the other. They are engaged in pictorial composition. What is essential in any pictorial composition is a canvas or a frame on which to compose. Now, the frame or the canvas can have different geometrical shapes. A rectangular frame can either be horizontal or vertical. There are no hard and fast rules for selecting these. Certain frames suit certain subjects better. One must be particular about selecting a frame. Usually, flowers can be composed well in a circular frame. A square frame will suit square objects better, like this bottle crate. Portraits can be composed well in an oval or in a vertical rectangular frame. Usually, a landscape looks good in a horizontal rectangular frame. Further, a horizontal rectangular frame can have different aspect ratios. That is, the ratio between their horizontal and vertical sides. The American Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science introduced a format called Academy Aperture with an aspect ratio of 1:1.33. This format has been widely accepted by motion picture producers all over the world for theatrical productions and dealt with in numerous subjects. Other popular formats in films are widescreen, having an aspect ratio of 1:1.85, and cinemascope, with an aspect ratio of 1:2.35. Initially, when television was introduced, they also experimented with different formats to have a separate identity from motion pictures. They started telecasting their program with a circular format. But ultimately, they settled on a horizontal rectangular format, which is very much close to Academy Aperture. A new television format, widescreen, has been introduced recently with an aspect ratio of 16:9. These wider formats are good for landscape, but not appropriate for portraiture. Let's start with a blank frame. Prolonged staring at a blank frame gives an uneasy feeling to the onlooker. This is because human eyes continue to hunt in a void space until they spot an object. For easier understanding, we have chosen here a point as an object. This is because the point is the simplest graphical element possible, which has only existence but hardly any dimension. Now, the moment we place this point somewhere within the frame, it commands all our attention. Our eyes start mapping the position of the point from all the four corners of the frame. This creates a tension until it reaches the center of the frame. Here, it attracts equal tensions from all the four corners of the frame. This is a portrait of the famous painter Pablo Picasso by the renowned photographer Irving Penn. Look where he has placed the most important element of the personality of Picasso. The painter's eye reflects his personality, and it is at the dead center of the frame, so that it gets the complete attention of the viewer. The same principle has been applied in this painting. For placing the elements anywhere other than at the center, we follow a rule called the golden mean of intersection. Here we divide the frame both horizontally and vertically into 3 equal parts. Thus we get 4 intersections of lines. We choose from among these intersections the proper positions for placement of visual elements. Normally, we select the upper left-hand intersection for placing subjects facing the right bottom of the frame, and the upper right-hand intersection for placing subjects facing the left bottom of the frame. Similarly, we choose the lower right-hand intersection for placing subjects facing the upper left-hand corner of the frame, and the lower left-hand intersection for subjects facing the upper right-hand corner of the frame. To understand this principle, closely watch the following examples. In case of more than one point, say 2 points within the frame, the eyes start moving between the points and create an imaginary line between them. Geometrically, a line is a little more complex than a point. It has only length, but it hardly covers any area. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Now, this straight line can be horizontal, vertical, or oblique, depending upon its placement. A line of horizon should always be parallel to the base of the frame. This gives the viewer a stable or pleasant feeling. Try to avoid the horizontal line bisecting the frame into 2 equal halves, like in this frame. This provides no preference to either segment of the picture. Now, the horizontal line is cutting the frame at the ratio of 2/3 and 1/3. The rule is, whenever you are framing a landscape, find out which is more interesting in the scenery, or decide on which part you want to give more stress. If the sky with its clouds is more spectacular and you want to give it more emphasis, fill 2/3 of the frame with the sky. Or if the foreground of the scenery is more interesting, fill 2/3 of the frame with it. In this painting, Chain Pier, the renowned artist John Constable has filled 2/3 of his frame with the dramatic clouds. To give more stress on the foreground of Mount Williamson of California, renowned photographer Ansel Adams had filled 2/3 of his frame with the boulders on the riverbed. Vertical lines in the frame are always dominating. Again, avoid a vertical line which bisects the frame into 2 equal halves. Try to place the line so that it divides the frame at the ratio of 1/3 to 2/3. An oblique line in the frame gives the feeling of instability. A line between the upper left-hand corner and the lower right-hand corner gives the feeling of downward movement. Again, a line between the lower left-hand corner and the upper right-hand corner suggests an upward movement. For example, consider this Henri Cartier-Bresson photograph, Little Greek Girl Mounting a Staircase. Here the suggestion of an upward movement has been dramatically brought out. This is because it has a direct relation to our habit of reading a text from the left to the right. Moreover, our eyes move along with the line, but this implication will be completely different for those who are used to reading scripts which move from right to the left. A zigzag line induces a to and fro movement of the eyes, producing a disturbing feeling. A curved line induces a smooth progressive movement of the eyes, which is often very poetic. Now, think of a frame with 3 points. As long as they are placed one after another, they tend to represent a straight line. But the moment one of them moves away from this regular placement, our eyes move between the points in a triangular formation. You can also get the same feeling of a triangle when there is a point and a straight line placed at different locations. Geometrically, a triangle is more complex than a line, as it covers a certain area. In a triangular composition, the important points are its vertices. When the base of the triangle is parallel to the base of the frame, the concentration of the viewer is the maximum at the vertex opposite to the base. In this picture, the base of the triangle is passing through the heads of the players, and the vertex is the ball, which draws all our attention towards it. Look at the composition in this frame. The characters are arranged here in such a manner that the kingpin is placed at the vertex of the triangle to draw the attention of the viewer. Often the vertex of a triangle can provide an idea of the direction of moving bodies, like in these pictures. But placement of elements in square or rectangular formations generally fails to generate an interesting formation or composition. However, circular composition has its own charm. It gives a feeling of circular movement as our eyes move continuously from one element to another in a circular manner. Now look at this picture. Though a part of the wheel is out of the frame, we extrapolate its existence and complete the shape in our imagination. The areas covered by the picture elements are called positive space, and the empty or void spaces constitute negative space. In a frame, there should be more positive space than negative space. So while composing, either move close or zoom into the subject as much as possible. But remember, you should always maintain enough head space, that is, the space above the head of any character. Further, you should maintain more looking space than the back space. Avoid vertical lines peeping behind the head of the character. In a frame, two elements can be arranged in such a manner that one counterbalances the other. This can be done in terms of shape, shade or color. Here the shape of the plaque on the wall is counterbalancing the man. Further, the brighter shades of the left side are counterbalanced by the dark tones of the right side. In this picture, the red color object is being counterbalanced by its complementary color, green. Now we shall discuss perspective. In a picture, the perspective gives an idea of the distance derived from the relative size of the elements. Look at this. All the lines are converging at a point, providing an interesting geometrical pattern. This is an example of a single point perspective. In this picture, the lines are diverging in opposite directions. This is an example of a two-point perspective. The perspective changes with the change of camera position. Moving the camera either in horizontal or vertical axis can do this. It can even reorganize the static elements. In a location, look for an arch or any other opening through which you can compose your subject. This may help you to capture a vertical object in a horizontal frame. Compose through foreground objects. Here, this branch of a tree creates a relation between the foreground and the background. It also gives a perception of depth. While composing, painters can manipulate the objects freely. So does a graphic artist working on a computer. Even a photographer can exercise this freedom so long as the subjects can be moved. Look at this picture. There are a cow and a calf under the big tree. These are so small in size compared to the tree that these are almost merging with it. But by moving the cow and the calf a few steps towards the camera, we can make them distinct. By moving them nearer to the camera, we get a completely different picture. Here the cow and the calf are more prominent than the tree. However, a photographer finds it difficult to compose when the objects are immovable. In this picture, we cannot move the stream or the tree or the clock tower. Here the tree is at the right of the frame, the tower is at the left, and the stream is in between. The tree is bigger in size than the tower. Now, by moving with the camera, a photographer can compose a frame like this. Here the tower and the tree are in the same axis. Moving further right, he can compose a frame in which the tree is towards the left, the stream towards the right, and the tower in between. Now, by crossing the river, a frame can be composed in which the tower is at the left, the tree is at the right, and the stream is passing through them. Now the tower is more prominent than the tree. So whenever you choose to compose a picture, Identify its elements, look for the lines carefully, and try to arrange them in a geometrical pattern by selecting an appropriate angle. You may come out with some striking composition. But remember, these rules are for your guidance only, and a good composition is one that communicates effectively.